What is indeed going on, Jerome's? It is a beautiful Monday, and yeah, we're back. Testing out the live stream a little bit. We're kicking off. Yeah, it is 8 p.m. Yeah, we're kicking off draft season. Draft month is finally here. Taking some Qs. We got some A's, as well as kicking off our annual draft fundraiser. It's good times. So Vikings sticking at 11-23. As of right, meow. We'll see. I thought it would have been absolutely hilarious if Kwesi made the trade up, as well as extended Jefferson on April Fool's Day, which, by the way, I despise April Fool's Day, but here's what always happens. People complaining about something is way more annoying than the original thing. So people complaining about, all the fake news is going on there. That's every day, man. That's every day. Let's see here. All right, so we got some questions. If you want a question answered in the chat, toss a couple bucks in the super chat. So what we're doing is what we've done every year, as well as what we do on Thanksgiving. So twice a year, we do the annual food shelf fundraiser. So all Venmos, super chats, and Cash Apps. I was told to get Cash App because apparently that's what the kids use. So there you go. All those links are in the description. So all donations this month will be sent to Twin Cities Food Shelves, and we worked with a bunch of various ones throughout the years. And now we're this time we're working with Every Meal, formerly Sheridan Story. So you can donate direct to them. The link is in the bio, or just for ease, send in the super chats or whatever. And our goal is $2,200, and we're gonna do a handful of live streams throughout the month, at least weekly, maybe bi-weekly, who knows. As well as, so we've been asked about doing the draft stream. We'll probably do something for day one, but the fact that the Vikings are probably going to trade up could get a little bit dicey. Or hell, we'll just do it. But day two, since the Vikings don't have any picks, we're definitely getting all up after that. So now the goal, 2,200. So we didn't pull that number out of our arse, but for Every Meal, that is $1,100 times 2 food bags for one child for 3 years. And what Every Meal does, they're formerly called Sheridan Story. They came and talked to our church. It's a great organization, and what they do is that a lot of kids get their food from school, and on the weekends or when it's summer, that can get a little bit dicey. So Every Meal helps supplement that, make sure that these kids worry about learning and being a kid, as opposed to where their next meal is coming from. And it's something that's really close to my heart. So I'm glad that we can do this during the draft, as well as we also do it during Thanksgiving as well. So check out Every Meal, and like we said, all super chats, Venmos, Cash Apps this month donated to Twin Cities Food Shelves. Also we'll do the proceeds, the revenue from the live streams too. So we'll kick that in. So there you go. Check that out. So we got some Qs, got a couple A's. Like we said, if you want your question answered in the chat, toss a couple bucks in the super chat. First up, Logan TG. Why is Penix so underrated? He had amazing stats for the past 2 seasons. Well, part of it is stats, right? So Hendon Hooker had great stats at Tennessee. Also, he had the ACL, but that's a bad example. But I think when Case Keenum graduated from Houston, I think that he was the NCAA's all-time leading passer. It's crazy. But you do have to look at the offense, and Penix, a lot of his yardage came from tunnel screens, bubble screens, getting the ball out quick to Bucky Irving, and a lot of it was yards after catch. Like I believe he was bottom 5 in Division I. Well, I know it's FBS. I call it Division I, whatever. But bottom 5 in ADOT, average depth of target. Now, you could say, is this a chicken or the egg situation? Like, did Penix put up the numbers in that offense because that's the offense, or because he's so limited they had to build that offense around him? Well, but Nix, I just don't think that he has the vertical arm to be a significant starter in this league. I do think that he does have the mentality, and I think that he does have a high floor where I think that he can be a high-end backup for a number of years. I think that he could bounce around and be a Case Keenum type quarterback, or a Chase Daniel type quarterback, where you'll be a solid number 2 for a decade plus, be an asset in the quarterback room, and there's no shame in that. But in terms of being like a high-end starter, like I just don't see it. And also, you have to take everything from the Oregon offense with a grain of salt, except for Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving's fine, but especially with Jackson Powers Johnson, like the too good to be true pressure numbers, it's because the ball is really quick. So you really have to just look at the traits as opposed to the production, what the black and white stats say. Sam Aker, $2 in super chat. Howdy, Andy from Austin, Texas. What is your computer setup? So I got a Dell. No, not the singer, but a space Dell computer. And then what we got here? We got OBS. We got a Canon video camera. We got a Rode microphone, 2 monitors, TV up there. Watching Boardwalk Empire right now. It's a great show. Or I feel like it gets lost in the pantheon of the other great HBO shows, The Wire and Sopranos, but Boardwalk Empire is a badass show, man. It's fantastic. Steve Buscemi, come on, man. Come on. Tristan Varney, $5. Nick Wright's mock draft had the Vikings trading up to 3 for McCarthy. Don't you think if we trade up to 3, it would be for May or Daniels? So I recently went over, for a video for tomorrow, we went through the 33rd team's recent mock draft where the Vikings traded up for 3, and they took McCarthy when Jane Daniels was 2, and Drake May was still on the board. Now, I can kind of understand why some teams may be in on McCarthy over Drake May, where McCarthy is going to operate inside the offense, and McCarthy had more pro throws than Drake May. And Drake May last year was basically just trying to make chicken salad out of chicken bleep, right? So a lot of his supporting cast left, and he was playing a lot of hero ball. Like, it's kind of similar to what Caleb Williams had to do at USC last year, but Drake May will force things, and Drake May and his footwork will get a little bit wonky. McCarthy is, as weird as it sounds, like McCarthy being the youngest quarterback, he's probably the most pro-ready, even though we don't like that term, because he's been a 3-year starter at a big-time program in a pro-style offense. I mean, that does matter, right? So, who knows? Like, trading up to 3 would be more expensive than trading up to 4 or 5, obviously. I probably would have to give up that first-round pick, and if you do that, you got to be right. You got to be right. So, frankly, I don't envy I don't envy Kevin O'Connell or McCown or Kwesi, because like this is their ass on the line, and they may have a choice. Like, if they're able to get up to 3 and have a choice between 2 of them, that may be tough. I actually think it might benefit them if they have a very similar grade on similar grade on May, Daniels, and McCarthy, if just one of them remains. And just like, oh, that was a guy all along. We'll go from there. Yeah. That's why I kind of don't envy the Bears up at 1, because Caleb is probably going to be fine, but there's a non-zero chance that he's not. And there's also a very high chance that Daniels, May, McCarthy, or Penix turns out to be a stud. And it's just like the Bears last year. I mean, they could have taken they could have taken Stroud at 1, but they didn't. They're going to be second guessed forever. It's just like, man, like, could you imagine if the Bears just had to roll Fields and they traded 1, and then Caleb Williams turned into a stud too, so that 2 years in a row they passed on studs. Man. Next, let's see here. Oh, we're on question 2. Great. Question 2. Jay Jettis, you think Rattler could become something special? What's his ceiling and floor you see for him? Spencer Rattler's interesting, where I'm not buying the hype that he is. Where's my quarterback rankings? So I'm not buying and yes, I do love Drake May. It's not a secret. I'm not buying the hype that he's in the big 4. I think that there was just a lot of inconsistencies with him, even though he was fine. His 2 years in Columbia with Shane Beamer and company with the Gamecocks. But it just goes back to that stupid Netflix documentary, QB, where Rattler did not come off great. Now, yes, young man matures, and he became a leader over the last couple seasons. Respect that. But also, I mean, Rattler did not handle Caleb Williams at Oklahoma very well back in 2021. But then again, who would? Right? But in terms of just like Delulu, like Jay Cutler, don't give an F arm strength, like Rattler's up there. Like Rattler's there, where Rattler's got the arm strength of like Penix and Hartman. No, not Hartman. Definitely not Hartman. Milton, excuse me. Penix and Milton, and also the don't give an F of May and Williams. Like, he's got everything, man. He's got everything going on for him. Where if he lands in the right spot, and that's obviously the case for all these guys, like, I think that he could develop. Where, frankly, if Rattler ends up in Atlanta, say with their third round pick, do they have a third rounder? Doesn't matter. If he ends up in Atlanta behind Kirk and is allowed to marinate for a couple years, I think they could have something. Like, I think Rattler, there is a lot of Brett Favre to his game, where he has this crazy arm strength and he trusts it way too much. But with Favre, like, he had to sit and he had to be broken into the West Coast scheme with Holmgren and Mariucci and whatnot. So, yeah, I do see the upside, and frankly, if the Vikings go in a different direction in the first round, they're able to maneuver day 2 and get Rattler, I wouldn't be too broken up over it. Daniel J. Hampshire, $5 in Super Chat. What up? Even if we draft O-line, I don't see the line getting tremendously better this season. How much of an impact do you think Jones will add? How much impact do you think Jones will add? Who's Jones? Daniel Jones? Aaron Jones. I get it. Well, Aaron Jones, he's a solid veteran running back, 5 straight 100-yard games, as well as he's very good in pass protection. And a lot of pass protection it's not just the skill set of the rookie running back coming in or young running back coming into the league, but the biggest gap is communication and knowledge of sophisticated pass blocking schemes, which in college, especially if you come from a run first team, you don't really see that. That's why Dwayne McBride struggled mightily in pass protection. It's not so much skill or want to, it's about knowing where to be. It's about communicating and reading the signals from the offensive line, usually the center. And Jones is going to be very proficient at that. It's also something that Ty Chandler needs to work on. But I think Aaron Jones, beyond just him running the ball, which is obviously a plus, him receiving the ball is a plus, but the leadership and his pass blocking ability, plus. That's absolutely huge. Yeah. Next is, all right, so JJ's again. Penix fall 23, or I have to take him at 11. So I made this case before. I do think if the Vikings want Penix, they'll have to take him at 11, because say it goes 1, 2, 3, 6. Say the Giants take McCarthy, and Penix is not getting by the Broncos at 12. Well, it's a possibility. There's always a non-zero chance with things, right? So Broncos at 12, Raiders at 13, Saints at 14, the Seahawks at 16, the Rams at 19, and the Steelers at 20. And also the Dolphins at 21, where every single one of those teams could take Penix. And if you want to get him to 23, you have to hit that parlay where all of those teams don't take Penix, and you have to factor in a team trading ahead of you at 23 and taking Penix. So I think either the Vikings, well, it could be a spot too where the Vikings could see value in trading down if a team wants to come up for a defensive player, which at 11 the Vikings could have their choice. I mean, the defensive players. So if they're able to find a spot where they can move down, say the Rams want to move up from 19 to 11 and take Johnny Newton or Latu or whatever, and they don't trust the board falling their way. Vikings at 19 and 23, and also picking up, say, a second-round pick. That would be kind of nice. Now, yes, you're still gambling that Penix isn't going to go in the preceding picks, but yeah, there's a lot of things going on there. Next up. Let's see here. User, should the Vikings take quarterback late like Bo Nix, or after already drafting a quarterback in the top 5? So Nix wouldn't go late. I think Nix is going to go top of day 2 just because of the quarterback tax. But all right, so basically you're asking, should the Vikings RG3 or Kirk Cousins their RG3? So say the Vikings trade up for Drake May or JJ McCarthy or whatever. Do they swing around later on, like day 3, and take a guy like Jordan Travis or Sam Hartman or Milton or Kenan Slovis? I could certainly see that. And the Vikings, they do have 7 day 3 picks. All right, so 2 fourths, 2 fifths, a 6, and 2 sevenths. So I mean, do they use that latter 5th or the 6th on Milton or Travis, it's possible. But in terms of like arm strength guys, I mean, Travis and Hartman, nah. So I'm not a arm strength snob. Like, you don't have to be dropping Dan Marino piss missiles out there, but there's a certain threshold you got to meet. And it's not just, throwing the 50-yard bomb. I mean, that happens so infrequent. But what about velocity on 3rd and 4, and you got to hit that slant and you got to hit that window hard, right for the linebacker and right behind the safety. Like, what happens then? You need to meet that minimum velocity threshold. By the way, McCarthy did meet that. Next. Angel does OG Jerome. Pizza or wings draft night? Probably wings. Yeah, because so in our house, Friday night's always pizza night. So families at home, kids help make the pizzas. So cute. They're just like rolling out the dough. Mamma mia. My middle kid, Rocco, he tosses it up because he saw that on like the Mario show. It's funny. So probably wings. I will say, so for a long time, I was a holdout on the air fryer, but it's a game changer. Air fryer is so fantastic, man. And it's the same case with the Instapot. Like, I'm not in right now. Like we have one just sitting on the counter, but we'll see. Sam Heckle up Wolves playoff prediction. Foe. I think the Wolves are built for playoff basketball. And if Cat comes back, he comes back. That's great. But right now, so the Wolves play the best half-court defense in the league. It's a lost art. And also, well, they got to suture up like when they just completely go blank, scoring in the fourth quarter or second half in general. It's ridiculous. But Anthony Edwards is emerging into a true blue superstar. And we've compared it before. It's like Jordan in like 88, 89. So right on the cusp of greatness, right on the cusp of that first title, beating Magic Johnson, the Lakers. We're right there. And with a great defense and with a player who can completely take over a game, I mean, it's kind of akin to having a goalie standing on his head in playoff hacky, right? So one guy can completely change the game, and that I think Anthony Edwards is that guy. And I think it will probably come down to the Wolves and the Nuggets again in the conference finals, or maybe the Clippers actually get their heads out of their ass. Who knows? But I think it's going to be Wolves and Celtics in the finals. Baby. One time. Also, have some interest in terms of jelly beans for them winning the conference and winning the whole thing. The whole effing thing. Gorgon Bull, $5 in Super Chat. What do you think the biggest surprise draft day rise and slide is going to be? Like Will Levis or Clelin Ferrell. So Will Levis slid out of the first round to the Tennessee Titans in the second round. Clelin Ferrell went. What year was it? Was that 2021 where he went in 4? Where it shocked everyone. Maybe it's 2020. Anyway, it was like basically the death knell of the Raiders and Mike Mayock and John Gruden. So they had 3 first-round picks, and they were all bad. That's crazy. Actually, I kind of want to look that up, just for schnitz and giggles. But all right, so here, player that could rise, player that could slide. All right, so let's look at a big board, to the window, to the wall. All right, so consensus big board here, NFL mock draft database. They do a fantastic job. So they combine several big boards into a consensus. So who could? Could McCarthy slide? No. I could see Brock Bowers having a bit of a slide, where I feel like it's not so much about him, but it's more. There's more pressing needs at other positions. Now, I think that Brock Bowers is going to be a game changer at tight end, but what's the value of a elite tight end versus an elite receiver or elite edge rusher? I don't know. I mean, that's maybe up for the teams. I think that maybe a guy like Jared Verse because of age, maybe a guy like Latu because of health and age, maybe they take a draft day tumble. It's possible. But, I mean, there's always a player or two who falls because of unknown medicals. and then it's revealed afterwards. Blah blah blah. I think Troy Fatanu could go a lot higher than people think. Super uber athletic, could play tackle, could play guard. I think there's a non-zero chance that he's the second offensive lineman taken, and I think there's a non-zero chance that he ends up in the top 10. I'd say maybe JPJ could fall. So I'm still in on him, but I'm starting to see the rationale of why some people may be down on him. Only 1 year starter, only 1 year production, and also you have to factor in his pass protection numbers are sort of slanted, pun intended, because of the Oregon offense, throwing quick throws all over the place. Kool-Aid's fine. I think Barton has a chance to be drafted really high. Graham Barton's my draft crush. Like, frankly, if the Vikings stick and pick at 11-23, getting Barton with all those picks, I would take it. And also, this may sound sacrilege, but right now, if I had my choice of the centers, I would take Barton 1, I would take Zach Frazier 2, and then I would take JPJ 3. That's a complete inverse of the order from like 2 months ago. It's crazy, man. Kelly Regassis, $7 Canadian, so that's like $2 million US. Hey Andy, I'm really curious on your hype over Jaquelin Roy. I say he needs a time of day, but Flores obviously doesn't. Hopefully the defensive tackle thrives soon. Well, I mean, Roy was a project coming in where, coming in as a true junior, need to develop more lower body strength, but in terms of length, in terms of upper body strength, in terms of just being able to hold his own at the line of scrimmage, certainly does have that. And yeah, like, he didn't get the time of day last year, and it could be a spot too where, learning the Flores defense, maybe it takes a hot second. There's a lot of complex stuff out there. Harrison Smith said so himself, and maybe that's why Flores did rather go with the veterans like Jonathan Bullard, like Dean Lowry before he got hurt, right? So certainly could be plausible. But it's unfortunate that Jaquelin or guys like Kyrus Tonga didn't get the time of day, but there's always obviously reasons for everything. But I still have hope that Jaquelin Roy can have a nice little breakout in year 2. All right, so where were we? Enhance. Is this one? You're still the one I'll run to. All right, so we got a couple more viewers on here. So just quick recap, fundraiser. All Venmo, Super Chats, Cash Apps this month donated to Twin Cities Food Shelves, or you can donate directly to Every Meal. All of the donation links are in the description. Goal $2,200 because that will provide 2 kids 3 years of food. I think that's important. Check out Every Meal, formerly the Sheridan Story. That's where the fundraiser, that's the food shelf that we're working with for this time around. And glad that we could do this. The draft is a fun time of year, as well as Thanksgiving too. So it's gonna be a long month. So enjoy yourself and whatnot. There you go. Next is Rob's. Describe what would be, in your opinion, the perfect draft for the Vikings round 1 through 7. All right, so we're just going to shoot from the hip. Screw it. All right, so do we say stick and pick? All right, so we say 11-23, future third for a quarterback. We'll say Drake May. So we got QB. 4th round, I would say we get a defensive tackle. We'll say Michael Hall from Ohio State. And also in the 4th round, we'll say... I think Cooper Beebe's going to go later than people think. All right, so we'll say Cooper Beebe at 129. Into the 5th round, say either Taj or Malik Washington, the wide receiver. Also in the 5th, I mean, if Audric Estime can get there, or Guarendo, the running back, certainly would take a look at that. Or Tyrone from Purdue. Yeah, all right, so we'll say running back there. Or, hell, Dylan Laub. Still my crush, man. Still absolutely is. 6th round, if Mo Kamara is there, that would be fantastic. Where I think Mo's going to fall because he didn't do well testing, and also he doesn't really check the boxes, like measurables-wise. But Heart and Hustle is a mature pass rusher, and I think that he, at minimum, could be a very good sub-package guy for the Vikings. So that's that. 2 7th-round picks. A lot of ways to go here. I mean, you could go tight end in this spot. I do think that Eric All may fall because of the ACL. Brevin Spanford is there if you want to go for a blocking tight end. I would turn Spanford into a tackle. Like I would put 30, 35 pounds on him and turn him into a tackle, like a 6 offensive lineman. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Or, I mean, Torrey Taylor from Iowa is just there chilling, right? Or if you don't go running back in the 5th round, say like Isaiah Davis is there from South Dakota State. Just that punch. I love that punch, man. Come on. Or they could go Gabe Hall. They could go Christian Boyd in those middle rounds. They could go McKinley from Texas A&M. There's a lot of different directions the Vikings could go. Also, receiver like Luke McCaffrey is out there too. Javon Baker is my huge crush, except I think he might go day 2. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, that's it. That's a fun question. Next. J Jazz, let's say we want to trade Brian O'Neill. What do you think we get in return for him? What's the trade value? I'd say about 2nd round pick. Even though this is a very good tackle class, I mean, Brian O'Neill, you know what you're getting, and you pay a premium for that. And they would have to have an estate plan put in. Like, if they could get Fuaga, maybe. Yeah. Daniel J. Hampshire, OG Jerome. I don't think our running game will improve without serious acquisitions of interior linemen. What are your thoughts on our backfield and what we can expect from Chandler and Jones this season? I think Kevin O'Connell was and is excited to get Jones in free agency. Thoughts? I think that they will be better. Hopefully having Bradbury there, because Bradbury being out at the start of the season really put things behind the 8 ball. I mean, Schlutman was fine, but it wasn't that, right? And Madison, I feel like part of Madison's struggle was in his head. And I feel like, yeah, he's human, and he knows that he got the contract. He knows that he was the man to replace Dalvin, and he just couldn't get it done, right? And the offensive line certainly didn't help, but also they had so many random injuries along the offensive line. Like, every single offensive lineman was dinged up at some point last year, but continuity up front. Also, Ed Ingram year 3. Also, I think Blake Brandel could and should take over that left guard spot, absent them drafting a offensive lineman 1st or 2nd round. But I think they will get after it. And plus, having a mature, methodical running back like Jones in the backfield, I think certainly will help. And I think Ty Chandler will grow and show in year 3 as well. Colton's Collectibles. Do you think trading him at the top 5 is a draft day thing? Or will it happen earlier? Well, so we said this a bunch. I think that if they trade up to 2 or 3, they can do it now. I think 4 or 5, you just wait and see what the board is. Where I wouldn't be shocked if the Vikings had contingency trades in their back pocket with the Cardinals and the Chargers and maybe even the Patriots, where, say, the Patriots are all in on Jaden Daniels, right? And say Jaden Daniels goes 2. All of a sudden, the Patriots would be looking to trade down. I think the Vikings, if they're in on May or McCarthy, they make that deal. Or if you're at 4, you got to make sure that the right quarterback is still there. If it goes QB, 1, 2, 3, right? So whether it's McCarthy or May or Daniels, whatever, don't make that deal unless your guy is absolutely there. Same thing with 5, where maybe the Cardinals just stick and pick and take a receiver or tackle, and the Vikings can do some business with the Chargers getting ahead of the Giants at 6. Right? So I think that if a trade happens before the draft, it's 2 or 3. If it's happening during draft day, I mean, it could be 3, 4, 5. Somewhere in there. Next. Bob, Minnesota Cards. Favorite day 3 running back. Let's see, where are we? Favorite day 3 running back for us to target later in the draft. Ooh. So I do like the back end of this running back class. All right, so Trey Benson is a stud. Jalen Wright, I think, is super underrated. Jonathan Brooks probably will be running back 1 if he didn't have the injury. Quorum's interesting. I kind of worry that he's got too much mileage on him, and the injury does concern me. Braylon Allen concerns me in an outside zone heavy scheme, but if you're going to adjust things completely for him, then I'm in. Marshawn Lloyd is great. Audric Estime, he's not a home run hitter, but he will punch you in the mouth, and also I love his agility in short area. Bucky Irving. Irving didn't test great, but he's so much fun, man. He is so much fun. Ray Davis, great story. Will Shipley, super dynamic. Guarendo, former stupid Badger, but could run with power and with speed. Tested great. Tyrone Tracy, the former receiver. I forget who put out there, but they said that Tyrone Tracy runs like he's drunk. Just like rumbling, bumbling, stumbling. But he won't go down. He's got that Devin Duvernay, former wide receiver build. Dylan Johnson, I mean, Washington, that ball game against Michigan was completely different once Johnson got dinged up. Dylan Love, super versatile, coming out of New Hampshire. Dylan Love has the most interesting accent because he's from Long Island, Strong Island, baby. And then he also picked up a twinge of New Hampshire while he's up there. Super weird. Isaiah Davis, the power running back from South Dakota State, national champions. Go Jackrabbits. Rasheen Ali, I think, is super underrated. Cody Schrader was a rushing champ. Frank Gore Jr., obviously. Vidal has been getting some hype lately. I mean, there's just a myriad of running backs in this class that are super interesting and intriguing. But in terms of guys that I like late, Rasheen Ali is certainly up there. Isaiah Davis, Dylan Love, Dylan Johnson, Tyrone Tracy, Guarendo. So in terms of like 5th, 6th, 7th round guys, it's where I plant my flag. Yeah, there you go. Next. Matthew, what position is a sneaky or under-discussed need for the Vikings in this draft? All right, so let's bring up our lads. You know you want it. I know I'm supposed to say safety, and I probably will, but I just want to like double and triple check. Come on, there you go. Our lads. Come on, lads. Oh, by the way, Liverpool's, we're going to win the league. We're going to win the league. And now you're going to believe us. Hey, is it just me or does ad blocker not work half the time? Anyways, so low-key position need. I feel like tight end might be up there because Hawkinson they're going to bring back super slow. And Oliver is basically just like a 6th offensive lineman. Johnny Munt is fine. Muse is fine. But I feel like they could freshen things up at tight end. So beyond the obvious ones of quarterback, defensive tackle, interior offensive line, I'd say a cornerback depth because I know that if you're not towing the line, you won't play with Flores. And I'm concerned that Andrew Booth and Caleb Evans might just be like empty shells at this point. Now, yes, they can certainly improve and get back in the good graces, yes, but I think that, I mean, Flores has his guys. I mean, Byron Murphy is his guy. Mekhi Blackman is his guy. I mean, hell, he had Metellus playing slot last year for a number of snaps. So, also, I think safety may be a low-key need, especially if Lewisine doesn't bother stepping up at any point. But Harrison, probably his last season. Although I do like Theo Jackson potentially rising up. I think punter is a huge need too because Ryan Wright was great his rookie season. Wright was cheeks last year. There you go. Was that the last one up for that one? I think so. Yeah. Next. So this is our general like Q&A. We already answered a couple, but we're gonna run through a few more. User, should the Vikings have signed Joe Flacco and have the rookie sit behind him? I prefer Darnold. Because even though Darnold was way more expensive than Flacco would be, and I know the Flacco had success last year, I feel like Darnold still has that potential that made him the number 3 pick, where he does have a big arm. He is erratic. He does have size and mobility. He's basically like Drake May from 2018. It's kind of funny. But also, I mean, Darnold came into the league super young at 20, so he's only 26, and he still has like a decade of football ahead of him. And for all the reasons why Minnesota is a great landing spot for a rookie, all those reasons apply to Sam Darnold as well. I think he could actually pan out and be something. Alicia, looking at the quarterback needy team, something tells me that Atlanta could still be in on a quarterback. Do they take one higher in the draft to develop behind the carcass of Curto? Alicia with the slams. So I dated Alicia back in the day. It's fantastic. See, there you go. Order. So I don't think they take quarterback in the first round. Mainly it's because... So the Vikings were able to re-sign Kurt on a 1-year deal. Vikings obviously would still be in on quarterback, but the fact that the Falcons gave him a 2 and change year deal, fully guaranteed, inside that 4-year contract, probably not. But I could see the Falcons circling back and taking a guy like, I feel like Michael Pratt would be a solid backup for Kurt, or Desmond Ritter ain't gonna be it. He's gonna be gone. But also Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler could be a lot of fun for them. Not gonna lie. Let's hear. All right, so this one looks interesting. Reno, if player X, let's call him Josh Jacobs, has a clause in his contract that says he can't ride motorcycles, yet Josh decides to still ride motorcycles and gets hurt, it would make sense that his team, let's call him Green Bay, would not have to pay him as he has breached his contract. How does that affect the salary cap? Do they get a rebate off future caps? Well, generally, when the money is paid, that's when the cap becomes, that's when the team has to take on that cap hit. So, like, say a player gets traded and there's a bonus involved. If it's paid on team A before he gets traded, that stays on team A's books. So now with Josh Jacobs, I don't know his contract off the top of my head, but if they paid him a signing bonus, like, that stays on the books even if they do cut him. Now, they could try to claw some of that signing bonus money back because he did breach his contract, which, you know, it does happen. A lot of these contracts, especially second and third contracts, do have clauses in them that, hey, don't do stupid stuff that could get you hurt and affect your physical availability for your job. All right. So it would be interesting, but it seems like he's fine. But I'm sure every single agent was texting every single one of their clients being like, hey, don't pull a Josh Jacobs or don't pull a Nyheim Hines from last year. Follow your light. If the Washington Huskies would have won or at least kept the Natty game close, do you think we would be talking more about Penix Jr. rather than McCarthy? I think that McCarthy would still be talked about quite a bit just because of the traits. But, I mean, people forget. It's almost insulting. After the Washington and Texas semifinal game, there was so much hype around Penix Jr. because he was spitting piss missiles out there, man. And if Penix had just like dipped out of the national title game or entered the transfer portal or whatever, or, you know, played fine and then Michigan won at the bell, no muss, no fuss, I mean, Penix will be talked about as a top 4 quarterback. And that's, you know, we get criticism because we have Penix, you know, ahead of like Bo Nix, right? And for all the reasons we talked about, you're betting on the traits. And Penix does have an NFL arm. He does have NFL decision making. You know, people say that he's a statue in the pocket. Well, it's more that he chooses to stay in the pocket and try to make a play, but he does have the ability to run. But I don't know, like the Michigan game was rough, but also it was rough for everyone. Like Fatone didn't have a good game. Polk McMillan, Dunze didn't have a good game. That Washington defense got their asses handed to them. So no one had a good game against Michigan. But since Penix is the quarterback, he gets singled out. And it just sort of is what it is. Damon Hagman. What are the odds that the Vikings sign Aaron Rodgers? 0. That's it. That's it, man. Well, we'll answer all these later. But so that was a good 38 minutes. Anyways, you guys are the absolute best, and thanks a lot for coming along on the live stream. We're going to be doing this all month. So, again, Venmo, Super Chats, Cash Apps. We got a handful of Super Chats in this live stream donated to Twin Cities Food Shelves directly to every meal for this cycle, and all the donation links are in the bio, and we're going to do at least one live stream every single week. And we'll probably do a live stream of some sort day 1. We'll definitely live stream day 2, and then we'll go from there. And again, $2,200. We're trying to raise enough for food bags for 2 children for 3 years. I think that's a lofty goal. I think that's very laudable. So let's get after it. So there you go. Again, thank you everyone who submitted questions, and keep tuning in. And this means a lot to me. The community, and you know, the channel, and putting in that work. And even though I've had some personal stuff and feeling better, the back is certainly less stiff at times, but then other times it's just like maybe not so much, but the work does keep me sane.